Ronaldinho and Neymar. Brazil's footballing gems dazzled the world with their flair and magic. Both players were abundantly blessed by the gods of flair, and boy did they deliver. They didn't just play the game, they redefined it. There was a time when their careers overlapped and we got to witness both of them playing on the same side. The chemistry they had was spectacular to watch. It was as if their footballing IQ was cut from the same cloth. One of their best performances together came against Argentina in September 2011. Brazil won 2-0 as Neymar and Ronaldinho stole the show with a skillful display. With a 12-year age gap between the two, the stage was perfectly poised for Ronaldinho to pass on the torch to Neymar once he came of age. The emergence of Vinicius Jr. has people wondering if he's next in line for the crown, but that's a conversation for another day. There have been a lot of speculations as to who is better between the two, Ronaldinho or Neymar. It's a lengthy discussion and we're going to curve past it because we want to know something more meaningful and measurable. We're going to look into both careers and personalities to determine which of them has had a better and longer lasting legacy. Or in simpler terms, who will be remembered against the test of time? A lot of factors have influenced their legacy, some in their control, while others, like the bloom of social media in Neymar's time, are external factors. Let's begin by looking at both of their careers individually before we compare their legacies. Ronaldinho started his professional career back in the late 90s, just when Brazil was rising again on the international stage. His career would begin with winning some of the biggest international trophies with Brazil as they won the Copa America in 1999, followed by the World Cup in 2002. His performances at the Copa 1999 made one thing very clear to the fans in Brazil: Ronaldinho's future lay in Europe. After 14 years with Grêmio, he was the next big Brazilian prospect in the market. Barcelona, Arsenal, Dortmund, they were just the tip of the iceberg chasing his talent. Ronaldinho would eventually choose PSG over all other prospects for one simple reason. He didn't want to move to a big club and then simply warm the bench before the 2002 World Cup. He wanted to go somewhere where he could consistently get playing time. He met JJ Okocha at his new club and carried his influence throughout his career. Okocha was the Ronaldinho of football before him, and crossing paths with him at PSG led to gaining much needed guidance. A slow start to his PSG career wouldn't last long, as by January 2002, he showed the French faithful exactly why he was brought in. The following season, however, was clouded by controversy as tensions arose with both the manager and a few teammates who disapproved of his lifestyle off the pitch. Ronaldinho famously said back then, "It seems to bother him that I am happy," with these remarks aimed at the PSG manager Fernandes. This is an important moment to remember because that's exactly who Ronaldinho was, unapologetically happy. He would chase joy outside of football in ways that were deemed unsavory by many. In comparison to his buzz cut back in Brazil, he was letting his hair grow in Europe. He was the saving grace of the French club, which was struggling in the league. Apart from goals and assists, there would be moments of pure entertainment devoid of any output on the match result. Yes, the Brazilian would score goals, but football for him was so much bigger than that. Elsewhere, Barcelona's new president, Juan Laporta, made a sweeping statement before the 2003 summer transfer window. He said that in order to get Barcelona back to the top, at least one of these three players needed to be signed: Beckham, Henry, or Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho's eventual arrival at the Camp Nou changed the club's fortune for years to come. During his 5 years in Spain, he won 2 league titles and a Champions League with Barcelona. He supplied the assist for Messi's first goal for Barca and created an iconic photo of him carrying the young magician on his back. The last 2 seasons at the Catalan club were riddled with injuries, and in 2008, the red and black side of Italy came calling. There was widespread speculation that his career was all but over since the 2006 World Cup. As untouchable as he was at Barcelona, the Italian chapter was somewhat different. This time, he was surrounded by the best talents in the world, and he was a shadow of his former self. But his former self was so divine that even his shadow in Italy would become a mesmerizing watch over 2.5 years. In the middle of the 2011-12 season, Ronaldinho departed for Brazil at the age of 31. The return to his home soil wasn't any less controversial than he was used to by now. While his boyhood club Grêmio expected him to make a sensational return back to them, he chose Flamengo. He couldn't return to Europe and ended his career after short spells in Brazil and Mexico. Neymar had a similar start to his career when he became the main man at Brazilian club Santos. He made his professional debut in 2009, and by 2011, he led the club to their first Copa Libertadores in nearly half a century. He was very highly rated even before he set foot outside of Brazil. Before his eventual move to Europe, he was on every top club's wish list, including Real Madrid. In 2013, Neymar moved to Barcelona to become part of one of the greatest trios in football history. By this point in his career, Ronaldinho had won the two biggest trophies available on the international stage, but unfortunately for Neymar, the national team had fallen off in the past decade by some degree. It wasn't easy for him to win trophies with Brazil throughout his career. This distinction between the two careers is a major one, especially for the Brazilian fans who admire Ronaldinho for his contributions to the Copa America and World Cup victories. Even though Neymar put up far more superior numbers for the team, surpassing even the great Pelé, the lack of titles hurt his legacy considerably. He spent 4 years at Barcelona, and they were the best prime years as a player one could possibly have. Next to some of the greatest players in football history, Neymar put up unbelievable performances that would at times even eclipse Messi's, like the remontada against PSG in the Champions League. He put up one of the best individual performances in those 90 minutes at the Camp Nou. What has to be one of the biggest regrets in football, however, if not the biggest, is Neymar's departure from Barcelona. Books could be written about that mistake, which would become the biggest bump in his legacy. He could genuinely have reached the levels of Messi and Ronaldo had he stayed back. He would have surely won a Ballon d'Or while Messi gracefully left the club. It's one of the most excruciating what-ifs of football. After moving to PSG, Neymar continued to put up unbelievable performances along with his goal output. He could take matters into his own hands and single-handedly decide matches on his own. He played a 10 out of 10 game against Bayern Munich in the Champions League final, but unfortunately couldn't win. But even the best of performances wouldn't garner much sympathy from supporters across the world who couldn't get over his departure from Spain. Even when Neymar put up a great performance, which he very often did, fans would claim how easy the French league was and undermine him. This would eventually take a toll on Neymar, along with the injuries, as it became apparent that his best was already over. Quite like Ronaldinho, Neymar spent his best years at Barcelona, and all else was just a shadow of his best self. After 6 seasons in the heart of France, Neymar left for Saudi Arabia, marking an end to the career of one of the last true entertainers of football. Both legends hung up their European boots by the age of 31. Now let's compare their legacies, starting with international football. Ronaldinho takes the cherry with the World Cup and Copa America that Neymar could never get. Brazil did, however, end up winning the Copa America in 2019, but unfortunately for Neymar, he would miss the tournament with an injury. However, trophies aren't the only measure of legacy. In 128 games for Brazil, Neymar scored 79 goals and supplied 59 assists. Ronaldinho played 97 games while scoring 33 goals and registering 29 assists. Even if you double his numbers, Neymar is still untouchable in terms of goal output for Brazil. While both players won't shy away from partying off the pitch, Neymar's era was plagued by social media, which put him under 100 times more scrutiny than Ronaldinho's party days. In fact, in his later years, while playing for Flamengo, Ronaldinho would party quite often. It got so out of hand that the club literally set up a hotline for fans to report if they spotted the club captain out on the night prowl. The phone would ring non-stop, with most of them being prank calls. But it goes to show how easy Ronaldinho had in terms of enjoying his time off with relative anonymity, while Neymar was under constant scrutiny in the age of social media. How he was hounded every time an injury would occur around his sister's birthday, or how much hatred would consistently flow online ever since his move to PSG in 2017. Let's finally get on to their respective legacies after finishing their playing careers. For the sake of argument, we will consider Neymar's career to be over because, let's be honest, he isn't adding much to his legacy within Saudi Arabia. Neymar is considered to be the prince who never became the king, even though he had the potential to be a literal emperor. Even after the brilliant career he had, his insane potential wasn't fulfilled. paired with the decision to leave Barcelona, garnered a lot of hatred towards him. Aside from personal decisions, injuries also adversely affected his career. In fact, Neymar should be shown a lot more respect for his resilience to come back from harrowing injuries again and again. But the general sentiment towards him is that he was an amazing player with a childish personality that he never really grew out of. He is one of the best entertainers in football, but he dove too much and partied too hard. He had the potential to be the biggest star, but his lack of discipline and training likely contributed to the numerous injuries that plagued his career. Football is, after all, a ruthless sport, especially if you have a lot of potential like Neymar did. Because if you don't fulfill your promise, people will actually hate on you more than if you never showed promise in the first place. The road to becoming a football legend is a tricky one. Worse players can have greater legacies in football. Ronaldinho, on the other hand, gets far more love around the world for his contributions to the sport. He was the household name for football entertainment for many years. His joyous personality and smile were often contagious, while his humility made people love him all the more. At the end of the day, the footballing legacy is heavily dependent on the player's personality and public image. Ronaldinho avoided a lot of criticism in his time because of the lack of monitoring away from football. He loved to party just as much as Neymar, if not more, but unfortunately for Neymar, social media played a key role in spreading hatred towards him. Ronaldinho's post-career controversies and his imprisonment weren't enough to scratch his footballing image. Arteta recently mentioned how he was the only player in history who transformed two clubs all by himself, PSG and Barcelona. He also stated how his energy and smile made it impossible to be in a bad mood around him. These things matter when you look back years later. A funny and unorthodox measure of legacy is how much you miss them once they're not around. In that regard, Ronaldinho has one of the greatest legacies of any football player, especially since he was one of the last true entertainers of our beloved sport before the tactical overhaul changed the game permanently. However, this is what we at Sportskeeda Football believe. Feel free to leave your thoughts down in the comments below on who you think had a greater legacy. Thanks for watching.